Let me tell you something most people never hear. No one has the power to ruin your peace unless you hand it to them. Getting angry? That's easy. But staying calm? That's strength. You weren't put here to be triggered by every opinion, insult, or mood swing around you. You're not a puppet. You're the one holding the strings, and the moment you learn to protect your energy like your life depends on it, everything changes. You don't react. You decide. That's the foundational truth behind self-control. Most people believe that anger is something that happens to them, like a thunderstorm or a sneeze, but anger is not an accident. It's a decision made in milliseconds based on a habit you've rehearsed over and over again. We're conditioned to believe that emotions are automatic and uncontrollable, but that's a lie. You may not control the first thought that pops into your head, but you absolutely control the second. And that second thought, that's where your power lives. That's where your future is shaped. The moment between stimulus and response, that is where you can completely change your life. Your life doesn't change when you get less angry. It changes when you stop letting anger decide who you are. Every time you feel that surge of heat rise in your chest, that tension in your jaw, or that flash behind your eyes, you are at a crossroads. Most people just follow the road they've always taken. Snap, yell, stew, vent. And you know where that road leads. Regret, drama, guilt, and emotional exhaustion. But there's a second road. It's always available. It's quiet. It's still. It doesn't get as much traffic because it requires awareness, patience, and presence. But every time you choose that quieter road, you build a new habit, and that habit becomes your new normal. Instead of letting that moment control you, you start controlling the moment. You shift from reaction to creation. You create a new you. Deciding instead of reacting is not about suppression. It's about strategy. You're not bottling emotions. You're choosing to respond in a way that reflects who you want to be, not what just happened to you. Because here's the deal. Every time you snap in anger, you hand over your power to someone else. You're saying, here, you get to decide how I feel. You get to dictate my energy. That's not strength. That's surrender. Real strength is standing in the storm of a trigger and saying, not today. Not because you're afraid of conflict, but because you're committed to peace. Not because you're weak, but because you're wise. Choosing your response is the highest form of discipline. And discipline, not emotion, is what builds a powerful life. What makes this shift hard isn't the concept. It's the conditioning. You've likely had decades of reacting a certain way. Maybe you grew up in a household where yelling was normal. Maybe you were rewarded for being the loudest or the most aggressive. Or maybe no one ever taught you there was another way. So this isn't just about emotion. This is about rewiring. Think of every trigger as a rep in the gym. Every time you feel bothered and choose not to explode, you're building a new muscle. It's slow at first. You might fail. You might blow up and regret it. That's okay. That's part of learning. Don't aim for perfection. Aim for progress. You don't need to be a monk. You just need to be aware and willing. Awareness is your greatest ally in the war against anger. If you want to stop being bothered by people, you've got to start noticing when the bother begins. Where does it show up in your body? What thoughts trigger it? Is it your ego feeling attacked? Is it fear, disrespect, shame? Most anger is a mask for something deeper. Peel it back and you'll usually find insecurity, pain, or a wound that never got healed. That's not weakness. That's human. But when you can name it, you can navigate it. You can pause and ask, what's really going on here? That question creates space. And in that space, you're no longer the puppet of your emotions. You're the author of your reactions. In that space, you access choice. You might choose silence. You might choose a deep breath. You might choose to walk away or speak with clarity instead of chaos. Every one of those choices builds a version of you that you can be proud of. Let's get real. Angry reactions might feel powerful in the moment, but they rarely leave you proud. They usually leave you apologizing, justifying, or fixing messes you didn't need to make. The most powerful people you know aren't the ones who explode. They're the ones who stay calm when it matters. They know how to protect their energy, even in the middle of chaos. And that calm, it's not a gift they were born with, it's a skill they built. And so can you. Choosing instead of reacting doesn't mean you're passive, it means you're purposeful. You're not letting people walk all over you. You're choosing how to walk through every situation without losing your center. It's about becoming so grounded in who you are that no one else's behavior can shake you. People can try, they can project, provoke, poke, and push, but you don't take the bait because you know who you are. And you don't need to prove anything to anyone. You're not here to win arguments. You're here to win your peace. You're not here to control the world. You're here to control how the world impacts you. That's the real flex. The next time you feel anger rising, try this. Pause. Count to 5. Breathe like your life depends on it. Because in a way it does. Your peace, your relationships, your goals, they're all on the line in that 1 second. You can burn it all down with a few reckless words, or you can pause and build something stronger. That pause is your power move. It gives you a moment to reflect, reset, and re-enter the situation as your highest self. Not the reactive you, but the deliberate you. The you who understands that control isn't about dominating others. It's about mastering yourself. And once you master that space between impulse and response, you start to see every situation differently. The things that used to trigger you lose their edge. You start to notice patterns. You start to catch emotional habits before they hijack your mood. You become less reactive, less dramatic, and more grounded. You start handling hard things with ease. People begin to notice. They say you've changed, and you have, but not in a fake, forced way, in a powerful, authentic way, because you're no longer being run by emotion. You're leading with intention. You're not suppressing who you are. You're becoming who you were meant to be all along. In the end, this isn't about avoiding anger. It's about understanding it and refusing to let it run your life. You don't have to be perfect, but you do have to be intentional. You have to show up in the heat of the moment and remind yourself, I decide how this plays out. I decide what I give energy to. I decide how I respond and who I become because of it. Every trigger is a test. Every reaction is a vote for the person you're building. And the truth is, you're always building something. Either a prison of reactions or a palace of peace. Choose wisely. Because in the end, it's not them who decides how you live. It's you. Always. Most people take everything personally, and that's the root of the problem. Someone cuts you off in traffic and you feel disrespected. A coworker doesn't say good morning and you think they're mad at you. A friend forgets to invite you to something and suddenly you're spiraling into self-doubt. But here's the truth. What people say, do, or ignore has almost nothing to do with you. It's about them. Their mood, their stress, their patterns, their lens. You just happen to be in the blast zone. When you stop taking things personally, you reclaim a massive amount of emotional freedom. You stop making everything about you and start realizing that most of what people do is a projection of their own reality. Their reactions are not your responsibility. Their behavior is not your identity. Think of it like this. Everyone's walking around with their own set of stories, their own pain, their own noise, and every action they take is filtered through that noise. If someone lashes out at you, maybe they're overwhelmed, maybe they're insecure, maybe they're just having a rough day. You don't always get to know the reason, but you do get to choose your response. When you internalize someone else's behavior, you turn their baggage into your burden. That's like walking through life collecting other people's trash and then wondering why you feel so heavy. You weren't meant to carry that. Let them own their energy. Let them carry their reactions. Your job is to stay clear on who you are, no matter what storm they're bringing. This doesn't mean you tolerate disrespect. It means you see it for what it is, a reflection of their character, not a verdict on your worth. Someone being rude doesn't mean you're unworthy. Someone being cold doesn't mean you're invisible. Someone being passive-aggressive doesn't mean you've done something wrong. Their behavior tells you about them. Your response tells the world about you. The key is detachment, not from people, but from needing them to validate you. When you stop needing others to approve of you, you stop letting their disapproval define you. That's where your power lives, not in controlling others, but in owning your response. You've got to stop making yourself the main character in someone else's drama. If someone is rude, don't script an entire narrative about how they must hate you or are out to get you. Most of the time, they're not thinking about you at all. They're stuck in their own minds, just like you've been stuck in yours. The freedom comes when you stop assuming everything is about you. Sometimes people are just distracted. Sometimes they're dealing with things they haven't told anyone. And sometimes, yes, people are just jerks. But even then, it's still about them. The moment you realize that, you free yourself from the emotional roller coaster they never asked you to ride. When you anchor your peace in other people's behavior, you'll always be at the mercy of how they show up. That's an exhausting way to live. You give your energy away every time you react to someone's nonsense. You hand over your peace when you let their moods dictate yours. That doesn't serve you. That doesn't move you forward. What does? Grounding yourself in your own truth, knowing who you are, regardless of how someone else treats you. When you're rooted in self-respect, you no longer crave it from others. You become immune to the chaos because your identity isn't built on their opinion. You are not what they said about you. You are not what they didn't say. You are not their silence. You are not their anger. You are not their indifference. You are not here to earn their love or chase their validation. You are here to stand in your truth and know that you are already enough. People will misjudge you. People will misunderstand you. People will project onto you. That's not your fault. That's not your problem. Your job isn't to explain yourself to every confused soul. Your job is to stay true to who you are, even when others can't see it. Sometimes people are bothered by your confidence. Sometimes you're triggered by your peace. Sometimes your growth reminds them of where they're stuck, and they lash out because of it. Don't dim your light to make them comfortable. Don't shrink just because someone else is insecure. You're not here to make everyone feel okay with your progress. You're here to honor your path. The moment you stop trying to manage everyone else's reactions, you start living freely. You're not cold for letting people feel what they need to feel. You're just mature enough to know you're not responsible for managing their emotions. Letting go of the need to be liked is one of the most liberating things you'll ever do. Not everyone will like you. Not everyone will get you. That's okay. You're not everyone's cup of tea. You're not supposed to be. If you spend your life shape-shifting just to make others comfortable, you'll lose yourself in the process. You'll become a watered-down version of who you were meant to be. And that version, it might be more palatable to some people, but it won't fulfill you. Stay authentic, stay aligned, let the right people find you, let the wrong ones misunderstand you. Your job is to stay real, not to be universally approved. The less you absorb from others, the more energy you have to create your life. You stop spending time decoding silence, overthinking texts, or analyzing tone. You start spending time building, creating, growing, healing. That's a better use of your mental space. Because you're not here to be emotionally exhausted by people who don't even know what they're projecting. You're here to stay focused, and focus thrives in detachment. Focus grows when you stop being emotionally hijacked by every opinion, comment, or mood you encounter. The more you anchor your peace internally, the less reactive you become externally. That's how you start winning. You can still care deeply about people without taking everything they do so personally. You can love them and still know their behavior isn't about you. You can be compassionate without being consumed. That's emotional maturity. That's strength. It's not distance, it's clarity. You see the situation clearly and you respond intentionally. You don't need to clap back. You don't need to match energy. You don't need to win the argument. You just need to protect your peace, maintain your clarity, and move with purpose. You know who you are, and that's enough. Everything else is just noise. And noise doesn't deserve your peace. Most people think peace comes from fixing others, but the real power is in managing access. You can't control how people act, but you can absolutely control how close they get. That's not cruelty, that's clarity. Every relationship you have is built on access, and if someone's behavior consistently drains you, frustrates you, or makes you feel small, it's time to take a hard look at that access. Too often, people confuse boundaries with walls. But boundaries aren't about keeping people out. They're about keeping your energy protected. You don't owe anyone unlimited access to your time, mind, or emotions. The truth is, you teach people how to treat you by what you allow. So if someone constantly disrespects you and you keep showing up, you're telling them it's okay, and it's not. Respect isn't just about how people treat you in public. It's how they treat your peace when no one's watching. If someone repeatedly pushes your buttons, mocks your values, or pulls you into chaos, that's not personality, that's a pattern. And you don't need to analyze it, diagnose it, or fix it. You just need to recognize it and respond. That response might look like limiting conversations, declining invitations, or ending the relationship altogether. That doesn't make you heartless. It makes you honest. You can't create peace in your life while constantly inviting in chaos. And sometimes the only way to move forward is by drawing a clear line that says, this is as close as you get to me. No one has the right to demand your energy just because they're loud, persistent, or related to you. Relationships are earned. Respect is earned. And when someone keeps showing you they can't honor your space, you don't owe them more of it. This isn't about revenge. It's not about punishment. It's about alignment. You get one life, one mind, one nervous system. Why keep giving access to people who keep throwing your peace off balance? It's not selfish to protect your mental and emotional well-being. It's smart. It's healthy. And it's necessary if you want to grow. Growth requires space, and some people just don't belong in that space anymore. It's easy to feel guilty for distancing yourself from someone you once cared about. But here's the truth. You can love someone and still recognize that their behavior is not healthy for you. You can forgive someone and still not invite them back into your world. Forgiveness doesn't require access. Closure doesn't require conversation. You don't owe people explanations for choosing peace. What you owe is honesty to yourself. Are you compromising your boundaries just to keep someone else comfortable? Are you tolerating dysfunction because you're afraid of being alone? Or are you finally ready to choose a life that honors your well-being first? People who care about you won't punish you for having boundaries. They'll respect you more for it. The ones who get angry when you pull back are usually the ones who benefited most from your lack of limits. That's okay. Let them be upset. Let them call you distant. Let them say you've changed, because you have. You're no longer playing small to keep the peace. You're creating peace by being real. When you start protecting your space, everything shifts. You start sleeping better, thinking clearer, feeling lighter. You start living like someone who knows their worth, and that energy becomes your new standard. Your time and attention are your most valuable currencies. Who you give them to shapes your entire life. If someone is constantly negative, manipulative, or draining, why keep handing over your focus? You're not required to attend every argument you're invited to. You don't have to respond to every message, answer every call, or explain your silence. Silence is a boundary. Distance is a boundary. Saying no without a reason is a boundary. You don't owe chaos any more of your energy. What you owe is peace to your future self, the version of you that's tired of being tired. Don't confuse loyalty with self-sacrifice. You can be loyal to others without betraying yourself. When you keep allowing the same people to disrupt your energy, you're sending a message that your needs don't matter. That's not love, it's abandonment. And the longer you tolerate it, the deeper that message runs. Start choosing you. Start honoring your limits. Let people feel what they need to feel about it. That discomfort they experience when you set boundaries, that's not your burden to carry. That's the weight of their expectations collapsing under the truth that you're no longer available for disrespect. Some people only know how to connect through drama. It's all they understand. If you keep engaging, they'll keep delivering. But once you stop feeding into it, things change. They might call you distant, cold, selfish. It's fine. You're not here to meet their definition of who you're supposed to be. You're here to protect your peace. Let go of the need to be liked and start being respected, especially by yourself. Because the most dangerous habit is getting so used to dysfunction that it feels normal. Don't normalize what breaks you. Don't justify what depletes you. Create distance, create structure, create safety for your own life. It's not your job to be available 24/7. It's not your job to rescue people from the consequences of their actions. It's not your job to convince someone to treat you better. Your only job is to stay in alignment with your values, to protect your space like your future depends on it, because it does. Every minute you spend in toxic energy is a minute you could have spent building, healing, or growing. So when someone keeps showing you they're not safe for your peace, believe them. Don't wait for another blow-up, another manipulation, another apology with no change. Let your actions speak. This space is sacred, and not everyone gets access. At the end of the day, you get to decide who gets close to you, not out of spite, but out of self-respect. You've outgrown being available for chaos. You've outgrown explaining why you need space. You've outgrown playing small to keep fragile egos comfortable. Now it's about being intentional. Who lifts your energy? Who respects your boundaries without punishment? Who brings peace, not pressure? Those are the people who deserve access. Everyone else? Love them from a distance, wish them well, but protect your peace like it's the foundation of everything, because it is. And the moment you choose that kind of alignment, your whole life starts to shift in the right direction. Your mind is a battlefield, and most of the wars you fight are with your own thoughts. It's not the external chaos that breaks you. It's the internal noise you never learn to shut down. The overthinking, the assumptions, the constant storytelling you do in your head about what someone meant, what might happen, what could go wrong. That's what wears you out. And the truth is, you will never be free from anger, frustration, or resentment if you don't learn to master your internal state. Most of us are reacting, not responding. And there's a big difference. Reaction is instant and emotional. Response is intentional and calm. That gap between the two, that's the space where power lives. The longer you can pause, the more you can choose. You are not your first thought. You are your second response. The first thought is often old programming, trauma, conditioning. But the second response, that's your awareness showing up. That's the version of you who's been through hell and decided not to live there anymore. Every time you feel triggered, you get a chance to practice presence. That doesn't mean suppressing your feelings. It means observing them instead of becoming them. When someone offends you, pause. When someone disrespects you, breathe. When life throws you a curveball, stop and reset. That pause doesn't make you weak, it makes you wise, because anyone can explode, but only the powerful choose peace. Mastering your inner world doesn't mean you don't feel things. It means your feelings don't run the show. You stop being a puppet to every emotion that pops up. You stop letting irritation, fear, or anger hijack your clarity. Instead, you become the observer. You notice your thoughts, but you don't become them. You feel the tension, but you don't act from it. That level of self-control isn't natural, it's trained. It comes from consistent practice, from learning to sit with discomfort, from realizing you don't have to act on every emotion you feel. And that's where freedom begins, when you stop being reactive and start being rooted. The mind loves drama. It loves stories. It loves creating meaning where there is none. Someone gives you a short reply and your mind goes, they're mad at me. Someone cancels plans and your mind says, I must not be important. That's the trap. And unless you catch it, you'll spiral. But if you pause, if you catch that thought and question it, everything shifts. Is that true? Do I know that for a fact? That moment of questioning creates space. And in that space, peace lives. Because the mind unchecked will always run wild. But the mind observed becomes a tool instead of a trap. Most people spend their lives waiting for the world to calm down so they can feel okay. But real peace isn't external, it's internal. You can be in the middle of chaos and still be calm. Not because the world got quieter, but because you did. You learned to stop feeding the fire. You learned to stop picking up every problem and claiming it as your own. You learned to stop personalizing things that had nothing to do with you. And most importantly, you learn to sit with discomfort without reacting. That's not easy, but that's growth. And once you taste that kind of inner stillness, you stop trading it for anything. Anger is often a secondary emotion, a mask for hurt, fear, or feeling out of control. When you feel it rise, instead of acting on it, get curious. Ask yourself, what am I actually feeling underneath this? What wound is being touched? What belief is being challenged? That pause doesn't solve everything, but it gives you power. Because anger acted on without awareness often leads to regret. But anger observed with compassion leads to healing. You can't change what you refuse to feel, and you can't feel what you refuse to slow down for. Slow down, sit still, listen in. Your peace depends on it. The mind will always find a reason to be upset if that's what it's used to. So part of your healing is teaching it new habits. Rewiring it to choose stillness over spiraling, gratitude over grievance, curiosity over judgment. That doesn't happen overnight. It happens moment by moment, choice by choice. Every time you catch yourself slipping into an old pattern and choose a new one instead, you're building a stronger mental foundation. And one day, the thing that used to set you off won't even touch you. Not because the world changed, but because you did. That's the power of mental discipline. You don't rise above every situation by being louder or stronger. You rise above it by being grounded. That means knowing your triggers and refusing to let them own you. That means choosing not to engage in energy that doesn't serve your growth. That means walking away from drama without needing to defend yourself. And yes, that takes practice. Because the old you wants to jump in, prove a point, get the last word. But the evolved you, the one building peace, that version knows the battle isn't worth the cost. Protecting your peace is more valuable than proving your point. You gotta stop outsourcing your emotions. Stop saying, they made me mad. No, they did something and you reacted. There's a gap between what they did and how you respond. That gap is your freedom. That gap is your power. When you say they made me, you hand over your power. You make yourself a victim to every mood, every tone, every word. But when you own your reactions, you take it back. You become unshakable, not because nothing affects you, but because you decide what deserves your energy. That's real strength. Quiet, steady, internal strength. Built by discipline, reinforced by choice. At the end of the day, you can't always control what happens around you, but you can master what happens within you. That mastery isn't built in easy moments. It's built in the tension, in the moments where you want to stillness, in the moments where your pride screams louder than your peace, and you still choose peace. That's the real work. That's the daily discipline. The mental training. You don't wake up unbothered. You become unbothered through presence, through power. And once you learn to command your inner world, nothing in the outer world can break you.